Good morning, everyone. It's Thursday, so it's Tap Talk from the Arts Partnership. I'm Dana, and I'm happy to be back with you and to bring on my friend and all around pretty remarkable artist in the Fargo Moorhead West Fargo community and beyond. I think it's important we say and beyond. Anna Lee. Let's get Anna onto the camera. Good morning, Anna.
Hi, good to see you.
Good to see you too. How have you been?
I've been really good. It's been a wild ride the last few years, I think, for all of us.
Yep.
And I think we've all been learning how to respond not only to the world, but to these things kind of like coming up from within. And so after like a number of years of like, try this, try that, and respond to this and respond to that, you've caught me on a really good day.
That's exciting.
Just like over the last several months, I feel like kind of like my new vision and era are really falling into place. And I think a number of people are starting to get their glimpses of that as well. Some people are in different parts of the process. But I kind of let myself just roll with everything and be humbled and then get really audacious with certain ideas. And I'm finally feeling really good about it instead of just confused. So
Well, congratulations. I think you articulated that in a really concise way to how I'll just say many of us in the creative fields are feeling. I can't
yeah.
speak for other people because our experiences, while similar in many ways, are also different. Um, I have heard through my director of operations, Tanya. I don't want to take credit for these conversations because she was having them, but a number of artists who've sort of said, boy, I'm just starting to come out of the fog of COVID, which really did make it hard to create for many, many people. Some people, it opened up unbelievable doors for lots of reasons. And some people, it really shut some doors. And I am delighted to hear that the doors were not permanently shut. They were sort of just a little bit stuck, and now they're opening up again. So
Yeah.
I do feel like even though we're moving into the time of year where, it's sort of the decline of the year, it does feel like there's a creative rebirth happening.
Mhm.
That energy feels very different than it has really since, I would say, the summer of 2019, because fall and winter, you just sort of expect to feel a little bit heavy.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I've found with my creative process is as, fall comes around and we have to go like within. That's
Mhm.
a really powerful time for a creative. It can be really torturous if you don't like winter, but it's a really remarkable time to get real with yourself or just go into your ideas. I mean, growing up here, winter was always well, I'd complain plenty, but it was also, hibernation is the perfect time to really be working on your creative practice. So it can be,
Yeah.
and then like summer is when it's like we can be more outward. It doesn't always mean that's when our work is coming out, but it's just like this responding to the seasons doesn't mean we have to like we can be influenced by it, but we can also make the most of it, right? So summer
Mhm.
is a great time to connect with everybody, fill ourselves up with inspiration, and then we go within, for
Yeah.
the winter, and hopefully strategically connect with people. I mean, I think we've all had those winters where it's like you come out in the springtime, you're like, what just happened?
Right.
But
We're
also
all
those
tucked the
times
tiny Phil.
where you're like, okay, it's me in my studio, and I'm just gonna create or like uh give myself a really hard time about not creating when really I mean, I think that hibernation can also be a time when you percolate on things, but for me, I always find that it's when I really get going with a
Mm.
lot of things because I'm like I love to create a little cocoon for myself, and then I can just like create without having to worry about anything else. That's a really big piece of why I started the art house is I just first needed a cocoon for myself.
Mhm.
So
So let's talk about the art house because that's really what spurred my invitation to have you on. I've not seen it yet, but Tanya, again, who's out and about sometimes
yeah.
connecting with artists first and foremost, came back and said, "You have to talk to Annalise. She's doing some really cool stuff." So let's talk about the art house.
Oh, I'm sorry. It just cut out there for a second, but
Let's talk about the art house, Anna. Tell
yeah.
us what this is and what you're doing. I'm not surprised you're doing something interesting and both um, tangible and intangible, but tell us
Yeah.
about it.
So, it like one of the things that I've learned about myself creatively is if when I get these ideas and these like creative inklings, I kind of like sometimes I sit with them, sometimes I work with them. So for a number of years, I had been thinking about a space where I could create. I mean, all artists want a studio, right? But it felt like something kind of remarkable, something that I could connect to nature. And so I was immediately thinking about like, I gotta be like, I think a lot of us had these moments over the last few years. It's like, I just want to be in a cabin in the woods, and to just like escape from some of the chaos. And I think a lot of us found, like a lot of solace in connecting to nature, getting out and
Mhm.
just daily walks,
Yep.
go by the river and enjoy the beauty of nature. I also started keeping bees
I heard
in
that. I love
2021.
that you did that.
Yeah, and so for me, that was part of my because you know me, I've had this long-standing relationship with collaboration,
Mhm.
and each collaborative project takes on different energies and responsibilities, and everybody plays a different role, but it's not something people really assess or look at. They just think, oh, I'm not working well with this person, or I really like working with these people, right?
Mm.
And so working with the bees has helped me like really take a step back and look at group dynamics in a way. And it's been so informative. And I just really see them as, animal partners in a way, and they're just I mean, I think there is a fascination with the honeybee, but actually being a beekeeper has really made me more of an advocate for native bees more than anything as well. So
Thank-
where I'm going with this is I had all these things percolating and I had been thinking about I need a space where I can just like have a creative cocoon that I can like host my bees and also welcome people into when I'm ready or when the time is right, because I love the energy that happens when people get together. And I love the energy that happens when I just go deep within
Mhm.
and go into my thoughts, go into my creative work. And so I had been looking for a space, assuming I'd be out in the woods. And then one day I
Mm.
was like driving through Moorhead and was dropping some art off at a friend's house. And then I saw this house for sale. And I'm like, that place is way too big. What the heck? I was imagining like a little cabin. And I just see this like 2-story house, but it had a for rent sign. And I was just like, well, I'm going to call that number. I just had that urge, like that creative spark where like, okay, called the guy up
Mhm.
and I looked at it the next day and I was like, oh, heck yeah, this is it. Like there was a lot to attend to, like certain things needed to be repaired. I just got the porch repaired thanks to actually a recommendation from Tanya. She connected me with somebody. So yay, Tanya
Right?
and her network.
Yep.
But it's for the last year, it's been a labor of love. It's been my studio. It's been my office for like the corporate design work that I do. And then it's also been a space to host friends, family coming to visit. And I've been kind of testing out some different things as far as like potentially creating an artist residency starting next year for people who are in an expansion moment but need to go a little deeper within. So
Mm.
a big part of my work is really what I call creative guidance sessions.
Mhm.
And I do coaching, but I also do energy portraits. So I'm a medium and artist. And so it's like I channel information and then draw what I'm seeing. And it helps people kind of decode, even though I kind of speak cryptically because I'm like drawing symbols, like, I mean, whether it's animals or, plants and things like that, but it's unique to each person. And
Mhm.
so I've created this cocoon so I have a safe space to do that work. But then I've also started doing human design readings, which is its own thing. But it's like a structure for understanding how we're wired. And for me, my goal with the creative guidance sessions is to help people understand like their unique place within their community or just for themselves.
Mm.
Like the things that we always thought were kind of quirky or weird about ourselves, like not things to fix. It's
Right.
actually something to celebrate. And so that's been my goal. So with the art house, it's become something where I'm like, well, I had this quirky notion, or like this might feel a little bigger than I want it to be, but then it's like, no, let's sit with it. And so now this space has turned into kind of a space of exploration for others and collaboration. So when Tanya came over, a good friend of mine was getting ready to start this mural. He hadn't done a mural before, but he's an illustrator and an amazing artist. And so he painted a mural. It's just like a space for experimentation. And then what happened with that is we brought together a group of people. Do you know Candace Stock? She is a
Huh?
chef, and at Burn, she's the
Yes,
queen
I
at Burn,
love Candace. She's an amazing chef.
right?
Yeah.
Well, she created a meal inspired by the mural and inspired by the concept of the mother trees and how like we each kind of stand in our uniqueness, and then
Okay.
we from like the stronger we are, the more we can ripple effect out. So it was, and the trees themselves speak through the mycorrhizal networks.
Mhm.
And so we've just brought together a group of people that are excited about fungi collaboration. And so she made this meal, and it was right like inspired by the mural, and we had the dinner in front of the mural. And then a group of us are creating artwork or poetry, like we're just working with our creative outlets to create something in response to this mural and the meal. So I was actually working on my painting yesterday. It's like this one, and I know you recognize
Mhm.
it's like one big painting, but
Yep.
many people can share in it. And
Yep.
that's the whole idea of like sharing food, sharing conversation, sharing ideas. And so that is actually going to launch during the studio crawl, October 1st and 2nd. And we'll have all the artists work in there, because a big form of my creative outlet is actually collaboration. So
Mm.
I bring people together like a painter might bring together colors on their palette,
Sure.
and see what happens. So the art house is really a testing ground for all of this. And like I said, I took a year to just be with it. And then just like July and August, and here we are, happy September.
Happy
Um,
September indeed.
and just the last 2 months, everything has started to kind of fall into place, and people are starting to interact with the space. And I also like, it's still my cocoon, right? And I get to very like consciously invite people in to
Mhm.
play. So
Well, one of the things that I have always admired deeply about you is not just your curiosity, because most creative people are curious and are comfortable with curiosity,
mhm,
but you're curious and then you follow up with it. And I think that's a really distinct piece of what makes you you. Many people would have articulated, I need a space. I need the cabin in the woods. I need my own Thoreau Walden experience.
yeah,
And they would have seen the house for rent and they would have said, well, that's not what I'm imagining, or it's too big, or it's too audacious, or whatever. So they would have just not pursued it. And I love that you say, that isn't quite what I thought I wanted, but what am I out to look into it?
yeah,
So I really value that about you, Anna. I think it's what makes you such a multi hyphenated kind of artist. And I think it's why people are drawn to you to do collaborative projects with you, because it doesn't exactly feel like you know where it's going to go. And so then everybody's contribution starts out having equal value.
yeah.
And I think
Well,
that's so interesting.
it is really about being in partnership versus being in control. So I'm there to set the framework,
Yep.
and I want to be impacted by others, right?
Uh-huh.
And so my intention with the art house has been like, I'm showing up, let's see like how the space responds to me as well.
Mhm.
Something I missed saying is when I saw the place, not only was it this great space, but the mural is actually in what I'm calling my secret art gallery. Not so secret now, we're talking about it. on air.
Yep.
But the whole point is that it's supposed to be like a secret art gallery.
Mm,
It used to be an antique shop that's connected to the house. And so
okay.
there's a space that looks like a garage, minus a garage door. It's just this little door. And it's kind of like walking into Narnia. There's this little
Mm,
space, and it leads to another space, leads to another space. And then you get into the larger space, which is where we'll have all of the work in response to all the creativity that's been happening. And there are a couple windows where you can look at the bees. So when I saw this space, so people don't have to worry about like, oh my goodness, I'm allergic. They can
right.
still see them. They can still see the hives. But when I saw this space, like if I hadn't had this, what could have like it needed a lot of tending,
Mhm,
and I'm still chipping away at it. But this kind of hidden surprise
mhm.
is what really like formulated it for
Yeah.
me. It's like, wait, this is where like I see where my bees can go. So I think a lot of it is like knowing what we want and then being open to how it shows up to
Yeah.
us, whether it's a person we've like thought we'd never work with or we've always wanted to work with, or a creative idea like, hey, I'd like to figure out how to paint a mural, or like, I need a space. The space will also find me, you
Yeah.
know?
Yep.
And I think there are a lot of unique opportunities for folks in Fargo Moorhead, but we don't always see potential. And
Mhm,
so a big part of the creative spark is also seeing, well, what can I do with what I have?
mm,
And like whether it's the resources or how I'm being met in community. And this is a big piece of like, the more we know ourselves, the more we can work with possibility, right?
mm, mm,
And we don't have to pretend that it's a shortcoming of ours. It's like, oh, I know what I really need to thrive
mhm.
versus, ah, I don't know this and I always end up like this. But when I'm speaking kind of vaguely just because I don't, but
Well, no, we don't need to, yeah, pinpoint any person or personality trait. I know exactly what you're saying. So, Anna, we need to wrap up,
yeah.
but is Art House open yet for people to come by? Like, do you want to share your address, or is it still sort of a private thing and you'll just reveal it as you reveal it?
Yeah. So it is near it's near Concordia.
Okay.
Um, I'm happy, like actually, I'm happy to say that the public is welcome October 1st and 2nd.
Okay.
And they can get information through the FMVA
Yep.
studio crawl info. Where I'm cautious to give out the address right now is it's not open to the public on a regular.
Yes.
It is open for events, or it's open to work with artists kind of on a case by case basis. This is
Sure.
part of me maintaining my cocoon that I love to share. So everybody will be welcome October 1st and 2nd. If anybody is watching this, hearing this, and is really inspired and wants to chat with me, my website, I think
It's
it's
up,
right there,
missannalee.com.
missannalee.com.
Yep.
There is like a contact form if you're interested in chatting with me. Part of this is really like I thrive on one-on-one and small group engagement. And as an introvert that is very outward.
Yep.
So I like to begin with conversations, and then I'll open up the space in the right timing.
In the right time. Well, that's a fantastic way to end it. Anna, good luck with this.
Thank you.
I look forward to finding a reason to come and sit with you and see the space for myself, um, and to just sitting in your energy, which is always a real present. So thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
Congratulations on figuring this thing out and saying yes to a what sounds like a pretty substantial project and an ongoing process. So I love that you did that. Thanks so much for sharing it with us.
Thank you. I'll have you over for tea soon.
I will be happy to come. I'll bring the treats.
Lovely.
Everyone else, I will see you next Thursday at 10 a.m. Thanks so much for joining us. And as always, thanks to 702 Communications for the sponsorship. We'll see you next week. Bye.